Hey there, piano friends. I'm here to talk to you about something so important when it comes to your child's piano education. It's learning to read notes and why it's important and why you shouldn't do any other method that does not include fluency in reading notes. The most important topic you will hear when it comes to the start of your child's piano education. Welcome to Parker Music Academy, where I'm here to help parents succeed at having their child have the best possible experience learning piano. And the way we're going to look at that today is by focusing on reading notes. This is the most important way to have your child be successful at piano. There are 3 things that you need to know about why it is important to learn to read notes. One is you really can't expect success unless if your child is reading the notes of music. Let's look at this like a school example. If they were in school, let's say kindergarten, first grade, and they're starting to read, right? But instead of learning to read, their teacher has them just memorizing books. They can't read a thing that they haven't memorized first. So they can read you, Cat in the Hat, the whole thing. But if you put a new book in front of them, they'd have no clue of even the word the or cat or hat. It's only memorized from a book. Would you consider that quality education? Would you consider that they're going to have success later, that they can grow? No. The same thing is for music. If a child doesn't learn to read notes, they will not have success. You might see a couple quick wins. Now, this is where it gets confusing, because if you do those YouTube tutorials or those apps that you can find online, they might have some quick wins. They might play a fun little song, but they're not understanding how music works. And what's going to end up happening is they're going to be so excited. Look at this song I play. And then they're not going to be able to go any further. They're going to hit a plateau. Imagine it, once again, that child example. At first, they memorize the Cat in the Hat. Then those books get harder. And then they get chapters. Eventually, they're going to plateau. The ability of them to memorize is not going to be able to go any further. And the same is with piano. Now, I'm sure everybody here can think of that one person, that one story they know where the person only plays by ear and they're amazing. It happens. But for a general rule, for most of the population, that is not the case. You have to learn to read music. My husband's a prime example. He plays by ear and he plays great. He's one of those people that play by ear and you're like, look, he's an example of why it works. He will be the first to tell you, I'm an example of why it doesn't work. Yes, I play amazing, but he wishes that he could read music. And it is so important that you have a child that can learn to read music. That is so important. And if you ever question if it's important, just always remember, is it important that they learn to read at school, or can they just memorize all the content? They have to learn to read. The next thing, Number 2 of why it's so important that they learn to read music is because it makes their options limitless, literally. Maybe you have a child that's like, why do I have to learn to read music? I have no desire to play classical. I don't want Bach. I don't want Chopin. So why am I learning to read music? When you learn to read, it opens up all the opportunities. But when you start with the simpler ways of just playing by ear, the potential is not limitless. You have limits that you're going to hit, and your child's not going to be able to be excellent in a style of music that interests them. But let's say they have no desire to learn classical, but they have this great desire to learn jazz or to learn church music. If they learn to read music first, they will become one of the excellent ones when they make that shift over to applying the foundational knowledge of learning to read music to the style they love. It literally opens up every door. I like to use the example of my son. My son obviously is learning to play classically because he's my son, and I know the benefit of it. And lately, he's had a real desire to start learning more jazz style songs. the shift has been seamless. It's been easy for him because he had the foundational knowledge and he just applied it to a different style. If he would have started playing the songs that he's playing now, it would have seemed impossible. He would not be playing as hard of music, as challenging, as fun as what he's doing. It's because he started with the foundation he needs. These are two so important reasons of why your child must learn to read music, even if it's not the style that they want the most. The third reason why your child needs to learn music is maybe the most important of all, and it's because we don't want them to quit piano. Kids that start out without reading music so often quit. And that might seem counterintuitive. Why does that happen? Let me explain why. Because when you don't start with reading music, granted, you're going to have a couple of really quick wins. It's a lot easier to learn to play by ear. It's a lot faster to learn a song by memory. Think about it. With a child that's learning to read at school, it's really fast to memorize 2 pages of a rhyming book. But when they learn the phonetic skills of sounding things out and the rules of why letters make the sounds they do, it takes longer. But then the progress starts accelerating. The same thing is with music. At first, if they play by ear, if they play by memory in the tutorials on YouTube, they're going to have some quick wins. I give you that. But then when they hit that plateau that's going to happen and they're not able to go any further, they're going to be like, okay, I can't go any further. What's next? Now I want to learn to read music because I realize I can't go any further. And here's what inevitably always happens. They then go to classical lessons where they start learning to read music, and it's harder. The wins don't happen as fast. And they're frustrated. They're like, this isn't fair. I put all this work in and I've got to start over. I went from playing really complex songs and now I'm playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's frustrating. It's discouraging. And so many times kids like this just give up. Once again, I hate to use the example of my husband. I'll use it again though. He plays amazing by ear. He started in ear and he knew he needed classical lessons and the wins didn't come as quick. And he decided not to stick with it. Because it's harder. And he's not a one-off case. This happens all the time. I see it time and time again. It is hard to go from playing by ear to reading music because you get discouraged. It takes dedication. It takes really sticking with it and knowing, wow, if I stick with it, I'm going to see progress. And that progress will accelerate. It will get quicker. But at first, it's a little slower of wins. And I'm okay with that. But when you experience those really fast wins from the YouTube tutorials, most of those kids aren't okay with the slower wins. And so they just quit. And this is what makes me the most sad about that families that choose to not learn to read music first, because I know probably at least 50% of those kids are going to quit piano entirely. The kids that once had this massive love for piano, this massive desire to learn to play, suddenly are discouraged and like, I can't go any further. I'm just quitting. And that is sad. And so we want to set your kids up for success. We want to open up any opportunity to them that they can play any style of music. We want to not set limits where they can only go to a certain level and can't go beyond because they're only playing by memorization. And we want to make them see that they don't need to quit, that they can achieve these goals, that piano is not discouraging. And to do those 3 things, they have to learn to read music. It is the most important thing I could say about starting piano. Make sure they're reading music. If you have your child in something that is not encouraging regular fluency in reading music, then I highly encourage you to take them out. Most private teachers do reading music, but if you have one that is not encouraging reading music, maybe they write in the notes or take them out. They need to be reading music. It is the most important thing about learning piano. So don't settle for the quick wins. Don't settle for like, woohoo, they played a song in like 3 days, but they don't know what they're playing. Give them the foundation they need so that piano is for the rest of their life something they're able to do and they have no limits in how far they can go with it. Thanks for being with me today. I want to give you a free resource for being here. It's a book that gives you everything you need to know to help your child succeed at piano. Whether your child is in private lessons or you're their teacher, you need this book. This book walks you through step by step how to get the most out of their practice time. And let's face it, you are the one most equipped to help them with that, not a private teacher, not anybody else, you the parent. So download my free ebook. The link is in the description, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so I can help you with more tips like these.